Hello, we're live. It worked.
Oh,
Yes.
oh no, not what I'm looking for something.
Wrong time to be looking for something, Drew.
I'm looking for us on Twitch so I can be in the chat in case anyone else is in the chat.
Okay. That's a solid plan. Hey
You
everyone,
know,
we're back. Sorry about the hiatus. I picked up the couch so we could clean underneath it, and I pulled my back. That was not a good time.
it was, just not the best time to try to clean under the couch.
No, perhaps we should have done that before we started the new season of Couch Horror.
That's what I was thinking, but no.
If it starts playing with dust bunnies while you're recording, you think maybe you should clean up.
I don't know. I think the dust bunnies really just add flavor to the room we're in.
Only if you pick it up instead of like popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. What else would you do with it, right?
Yep. All right. So this week we're back on Lost in Space, Series 2, Episode 2. I don't remember what this episode was called. I think I skimmed it in my brain. I don't remember the intro.
Well, the intro didn't play in this one.
Yes, I thought not. Ha.
It didn't play. It literally cut into them rushing around the table in the Jupiter talking about the plan. They're like, okay, so we only have 97 minutes before the lightning strikes hit. And so you all know your plan, which I'm going to go ahead and just out of the way. If everything goes wrong all the time, forever and constantly, then it doesn't then you don't have any drama, because every time you do anything, it's like, oh, look, something went wrong. Like, okay, yeah. I already knew that was going to happen.
It was all right, so what's the next calamity to happen, because there's still 20 minutes of this left.
Exactly. And that's what this episode and most of their episodes work out to be is,
yes,
they have a plan, something goes wrong every 5 seconds, and then they figure it out, but something else just goes wrong. And it's like, I don't care at a certain point. It's like how if the show literally just hinged around constantly having this one character's always under threat of death, and it's like, but they never die. And it's like, well, then I don't care anymore.
Yeah, they're on the poster art. I mean, who kills the lead if they're on the poster art?
Well, I mean, Scream did that, but they had guts,
Yeah, lots of as we saw.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, it starts out with them rushing around the table, and then everyone being assigned a job. And then what's her
Smith
face?
complains because she didn't get a job, and the mom was like, "Your job is to say nothing and touch nothing and do nothing."
Yes. Which is like,
We also find out that apparently the Jupiter, not only can it absorb just a fuck ton of energy from a lightning strike, will also act as a Faraday cage.
Boy. Well, the Faraday cage, I guess, isn't incorrect, but it's the kite and the jump lead thing that was...
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, you cannot be both a Faraday cage and also absorbing the energy to jumpstart your engine. Those things are not... You can't have both, I feel like. You either have to absorb the energy or the energy has to pass around you.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're thinking, but I do have to say, at least they used terminology this episode.
That is true. They got a little bit of psi up in their phi.
Yeah, we got some real psi in this. Well, we briefly touched on some psi in this episode.
Yeah,
apart from the fact that being hit by lightning would just melt them.
Oh, I have another comment about that.
Oh yeah, so do I.
But we'll get there because
we'll get there.
It's for later. So the dad and one other person, maybe Judy, are taking down the masts and the rigging. That's their job. And they're gonna stow it on the Jupiter instead of, I don't know, just being like, don't need this anymore.
Well, they can't get rid of things because their 3D printer is probably running out of filament for whatever filament it uses.
You know what? That's probably true. So all right, I'll give you that. They probably are running out of 3D
They've got to be
material.
right. They've been on this planet for 7 months apparently, as they keep banging.
Yeah, and they probably, I mean, who knows where they fucking got that ridiculous shit for their greenhouse.
Yeah, who knows?
So Will's job is, I don't know. I literally could not figure out what Will's job was, because it literally just showed him wandering around the ship most of the time.
I feel like he's the other dog's body in this episode. Like, he's the other guy that picks up and just does stuff that his parents tell him to. Not really. Like, there wasn't really anything, I don't think, that Will did. They just made it sound...
The only thing Will wanted to do this whole thing was go down into the trench, because somebody built the trench, and they're just like, yeah, let's not worry about that right now. We're about to get struck by a fuck ton of lightning. And he's like, but... And they're like, shut up.
Well, like, his parents had priorities. We're about to get hit by lightning. How about we check out the trench when we're not about to get hit by lightning? Like, that's
there's another time.
There's some real parenting going on right there.
You know, it makes the most sense. But as Will's walking around, he's hearing like this like clicking noise that's coming from the walls of the ship, and you know, he's just like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, this ominous ticking. Like, do you hear that ticking? It sounds like it's just something when we turn a spaceship into a submarine.
Yeah,
cool,
you know, you'll fuck a bunch of stuff up.
Yeah, that was a... He still shouldn't be able to do that, but okay, sure.
You know, I also want to say, this payoff would have been better if I knew it wasn't going to get resolved in this episode.
Yeah.
Like if they'd kept it for a while and like fucked with it, and there would have been a better payoff. Yeah, rather than
it's Chekhov's gun all over again.
Oh my god, it is everything is Chekhov's gun in this show.
It really is, because everything is like, oh, here's a thing now, here's another thing. The only exception is, I think, usually in like the last like 10 seconds in the episode, when they'll have like a big and mysterious for the overall plot. I'm like, all right, okay, that's
pretty much. You know, everything's gonna get resolved within an hour, and it's like, you're as bad as a sitcom. Like, oh, everything got solved in 30 minutes, and next week it's all back to normal. It's like, okay.
Well, I guess they did have the whole, the only thing that they've really brought along is like the teenage angst from episode 1. They managed to ride that teenage angst into this second episode.
You know, they're all right. Okay. You're saying the long form they've got going on is that the teenagers are angsty teenagers.
Yes. They're the kids with angst, or they're kids becoming adults, or they're just kids who want to play with robots.
All right, you know what? Sure.
All right, I know. So Will wanders around the ship and he hears this weird tapping in the walls, and Don's just like, it's just a thing that happens, man. Just get over it.
Ignore it. We all got work to do. Let's go.
Yeah, get on with it, man. And then we find ourselves in the cockpit, right? Yeah, where clearly Smith is doing some nefarious things at a terminal, and when she hears something coming, she runs and sits on the window ledge.
Oh my god! And not only does she run and sit on the window, this is where we get her first. Okay, the actress is doing such a good job. But I hate Smith so much. It's such a terrible character. Like, they don't do anything that makes me be like, yeah, Smith is definitely worth having around, ever. No. So this is but every episode, Smith gets a really dumb speech, basically. And this is the first of the really dumb speeches, this episode, in which she talks about how seaweed is so useful, but everyone thinks it's gross trash. And I'm like, stop it. Just shut up.
Yeah, I think she usually, like, even in, like, series 1, she usually got, like, one terrible, like, monologue at someone. This one, I think she gets 2, maybe 3. Like, she gets a couple. She gets a couple.
And, I mean, I do appreciate the fact that she goes on this little speech about how everyone thinks seaweed is trash and it's gross, but you use it every day, you just don't realize it. And Will's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Will's just like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. I have work to do. But she's like, no, only we know what it's like to be connected to the robot.
And he's like, no, shut up. She's like, like, it does what its master wanted. I wanted a bodyguard and you wanted a friend. I'm like, I don't think you're wrong on that one, actually.
I don't think you are, but also still shut up. Like, it's not a bad scene. It's just like, it's because it's used over and over and over again in this show that I'm just like, I don't care. You keep using the same notes to the point that I don't care.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm occasionally okay with dance music with the same repetitive thing, but if you just stick a slightly different melody in there, it suddenly sounds beautiful and new. But they are again repeating just the same way.
Oh yeah, it's like they're like, no one watching this show is gonna binge it, so there's no way they'll remember anything that happened last episode. They'll watch an episode and then 6 months later watch another episode.
Yeah, like we're relying on the ick factor to keep you at least one episode a week.
But it's just like, don't treat your audience like that. And if the idea is supposed to like pay homage to like an older TV show because they did that kind of stuff, don't do that. Those shows are terrible.
No, we learn from our mistakes. Again, I think this is exactly the same issue we had in like series 1. Like,
I think so. Just the constant use of the same thing.
Anyway, so Will does that, and I don't think he does anything. I think he storms out.
No, he literally pushes a button, and then it cuts to Don. Like, the whole point of the scene is him and Smith.
Yes.
And then it cuts to Don at the engines.
Oh, yeah.
Or the thrusters.
Yeah, he has Penny with him, and Penny's gone to help him to make sure that he has everything he needs to do his job. This is kind of a cool looking shot, I have to say. Like, the director of photography and the set designers, like, they're on point in this goddamn episode. Like, this kind of exterior set that they're doing where they have like the hatch and they've got all the water going around and they have this weird green kelp thing, the seaweed that we saw when she was leaning against the window. Make a big point. Here's a plot point. It's called kelp.
It's called kelp. Look at it.
Look at my kelp.
It's gonna do something.
Yeah. So they're down there having a little backwards and forwards, and this is where the teen angst really starts to come out.
They cranked that one to 11 so fast this episode.
Oh yeah.
Because Penny is so upset.
Yeah, she's going through some issues. She's super unhappy, and she complains that she gets the dummy jobs, I think she calls them.
Yeah.
I think it's dummy jobs. And he's like, you think looking after me is a dummy job? And she kind of refuses to answer. Which I thought was amazing. But then his comments of, yeah, don't put your hand up, don't get seen by anything. Like, you can just live your life quietly if you don't stick your head out. Like, Don's philosophy. Yeah,
and then she's like, oh, and that works for you? He's like, yeah, until I met all of you overachievers.
Yeah. Don is very much, I think, just our little window into this world of ridiculousness.
Honestly, he's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, I mean, he plays more like an actual character rather than like a trope character.
Yes.
And I don't know why that is. It's like, just write all of them like this.
Yeah. I think
they could all be smart.
Yeah, I think, however, it makes him very easily colorable.
I think so.
Yeah, so like at the moment his kind of job is to go fix the bits of the ship that we need fixed, but we don't want to make a whole big deal about it and have an actual scene with a character because that's wasting their time. Let's send Don to do it. He's their dog's body. We'll send him off to do a thing, which I think just makes him very colorable. Like he's, oh man.
I think so.
I don't see a season 3 in his future.
Oh God, I hope not. I hope Don survives. He's the only one I want to survive.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's trying to get the kelp off the ship, and it's really stuck on there. He's trying to get it off with a crowbar, and it's not working. And then he's like, well, that's weird. And then some kelp leaps out of the water and wraps around his leg and bites him through his spacesuit, and his leg goes numb.
Yeah, I was really confused, because like if they had a hole in the suit, weren't they supposed to be like being melted by the methane in the air, or was the kelp plugging the hole?
I wanted to comment on that because if it broke through his spacesuit, that is supposed to be a big deal. Nobody comments on that. They just comment on the fact that kelp gets him. But his leg goes numb, and he and Penny fall in the water, and since they're on a waterfall, They start going towards the edge, and then a bunch of people rush over there to save them, obviously, because that'd be weird if they just stood around and it happened.
And of course, because everyone is up there doing the thing with the kite and the mast, the kite goes flailing because, like, Mama Robinson's just like, shit, my child, and like goes down to try and help, and the kite goes basically into the air, and the father like kick flips it or some dumb shit.
Oh my god,
onto
that
the mast.
I was like, nope. So the mom literally, instead of having the kite attached to anything, she's literally holding it as if she's flying a kite at the park. And I'm like, well, that's not how you would hold a conductive kite that you're trying to catch lightning with at all. You wouldn't stand on the ship and be like, ha. So she's got a spool of string, which she drops when Penny starts screaming over the radio. And the dad leaps for it, misses, and then is sliding after it and just slaps it with his hand. And it miraculously flies up and around the mast and ties itself off.
Yes, because why would she drop this? Why was it not attached to anything already?
Considering how windy it was already.
Cool shot. They just wanted that cool shot of him smacking this thing into the mast and a ridiculous height. Like, they wanted that there.
I don't even know why she was messing with it. Like, the kite is the easiest thing. You made the kite. Once you make the kite, you don't have to touch it again. You don't need to be playing with it. You just need to be like, here's the kite.
And like,
hook it to
leave it where it's not going to get blown away if you haven't tied it up. Why would you carry this up? There are so many problems with that fucking kite.
I don't know why. The rest of the family's out there fucking busting their hump, and the mom's like, I'm out here for a nice windy day. Like, what are you doing here?
Like, she has skills, do something else. Anyway, so yeah, we get the cool shot of the thing wrapping itself around the mast. So Mama Robinson is down there trying to get Don back on. She managed to pull Don on, but unfortunately Penny just gets taken out by the current. And of course, natural thing, Mama has to go jump in afterwards because that's what Robinsons do, which is a fair thing, I guess. You see your child drowning, you're gonna go with him. Of course, you could just cut Penny loose and be done with it.
Wow, that's the coldest thing you've ever said.
She's useless, and we're about to get to a scene right towards the end where I will explain how useless and terrible this episode is. So, and I was all tied to Penny and her angst.
Well, Penny and the mom go over the waterfall edge and survive without any harm to them at all because
150-foot drop onto a metal base or a thin amount of water. I don't.
No damage, no cracked seals or anything. Considering these suits break like eggshells half the time.
I mean, Kelp broke it.
Kelp broke it. I don't understand how they didn't get any damage. And you're like, oh, well, they landed in the water. And I'm like, no. There's metal down there.
Yeah, like, that can't be deep enough. Like, the trajectory... they would have to have a really deep water at the edge, and then the current would take... But they landed
and
okay.
Even then, if they didn't land right, that suit would absorb a bunch of energy.
That was super hard.
Both they and their suit would be fucked.
Yeah. But they're fine because they're surrounded by the most convenient and fallible armor of all, plot armor.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Because that's not the point of the drama of this episode.
No.
The point of the drama of this episode is to make everyone on the Jupiter be like,
fixing this episode would literally have been cracking her mum's stuff so it would fail, so that Penny would have to fucking do something.
Because this episode is literally just, why I know good enough. You're good enough. No, I'm not. I solved it. Like,
you did. You solved it, Penny. No, you didn't. Your mum remembered some dumb throwaway comment you made.
Because even Judy gets angsty.
Yeah, but she
like they're all they all get angry. Like all the children just get like, I can do more. It's like, okay, stop it.
Anyway, so they land at the bottom of this, and then everyone's like, okay, so the kite's up there, we're down here, we just got to figure out how to get up there, like,
yes,
this is fine, like, you figure it from up there, and we'll figure it from
like
down
an hour. It's no big deal.
Everyone's like, chill, everyone's like, don't worry with the Robinsons, we'll get through this. Everyone is so positively upbeat in this episode.
And then the mom's like, wait, the kite rigging. Go get the kite, and we'll just tie the kite off and throw it down here, and we can climb up. It's no big deal. So the dad goes to get the kite, and he climbs up on the mast. And, well, wouldn't you know it, the mast falls over, and the kite flies off, and all the rigging falls down into the hole and almost kills Penny and the mom.
Of course, yeah. And they're like, well, shucks, what do we do now? Honey, it's gonna be okay. We'll go figure it out. And then down in the trench, the women are having a lot more angst.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Penny.
By the way, they're not... I love that it cuts to them. Every time it cuts to them, they're literally standing in the same spot, just staring upward. And I'm like, you two are doing absolutely nothing to try to survive. You're just like, huh, that's a cliff.
That's a real big cliff. That's a slippery cliff. Look, but they're whilst down there in one of these, like, we can basically skip most of their story because it is them just being angsty.
It really is. It's Penny having her angst moment.
Yeah.
And
like,
her mom.
Hey, Mom, aren't you upset that I got stuck here and not one of the smart, like, do-gooder kids? And she's like, no, don't be ridiculous. You're all talented in your own way. Such a mum response. And then she's like, did you even read my book? And the mum's like, yeah, I totally read your book. Yeah, I can't wait for the sequel. Lies.
So many lies.
Lies. So obviously Penny is distraught and upset because she feels useless and basically has been so far. And the mum's trying to make her feel like she's not useless. It's an uphill battle, but I'm sure she's trying. I'm the only real thing of note they do down there, other than like being in this trench, which definitely gave me some of those like outside alien vessel vibes to it, is they had the writing that you sometimes have seen on the robot and on the robot ship. Like this writing has been like carved or etched or embossed into like the metal at the bottom of this trench in the middle of the ocean. So the mum took some pictures and they're like, no, this isn't important. Let's try and get out. Again, priorities. The parents are correct on this one. The kids are idiots.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone, it's all fucking terrible.
Yep. Congratulations. That was the trench. We can now ignore that for a while.
Yeah, so back on the Jupiter, Don is being dragged to the med bay by Judy and Will.
Yes.
Because he's like literally just like going limp because of this kelp.
Yeah, which I did love his response of just don't tell anyone. This is embarrassing. I have a reputation. Like, that is, I don't know what it is, but that's definitely a gallows humor that we have in Britain. I'm dying, but I'm going to make you laugh because I don't want to face the reality I'm dying.
This is all terrible, but you know what? So Will gets sent off to go help the dad get Penny and the mom out of the trench, while Judy tries to save Don.
Yes.
So she has to cut all the kelp off, and then he's going into anaphylactic shock. And I'm just kind of skip a couple of scenes and deal with this part right here because this part annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
Because so he's going to anaphylactic shock, and she's like, "I have to give you a blood transfusion," and she looks at like I'm guessing it's a flight manifest or something. And she's like, "There's only one person here with the same blood type, and it's not me." So of course it's Smith, but that doesn't make any sense. Why she would have that information? And I say that because Smith lied. Mm-hmm. Smith is not Smith. Smith was a stowaway. So
do you not think in the 7 months that they had, they were just gonna nick some blood from it? Like, no. I
mean, it's entirely
possible. We're taking your blood.
Here's the thing that annoys me. It's entirely possible. But this show is a big fan of just being like, hey.
Information.
There's nothing in this show is about subtlety. They will hit you in the face with information. Mm-hmm. So why is this the moment where they're like, it's fine. We'll just breeze past this.
Yeah, I guess because they couldn't make a point about it.
I guess. So yeah. Anyway, Smith and Don get hooked up together to be blood transfusioned.
Blood brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. And then about that time,
I did, however, like the option that Judy gave Don, which was like, hey, you're going into anaphylactic shock. I can either give you a blood transfusion or I'm going to have to put you into a medically induced coma to get through this. And the odds of that aren't great. And he's like, oh, it's her? Just kill me.
He's just, I'd rather
coma.
be dead. I
Fuck
don't
no.
want to do this.
Yeah. But she does it against his will, which is, I guess, patient. Right. No, this is terrible. Like, oh, jeez.
No. No. I mean, well, the other option is they let Don die, and Don is, without a doubt, the most useful mechanic they have.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, so, but then also she runs off to help the dad and Will, because the dad and Will have decided that they just need to get a Faraday cage down to the mom and Penny, and they already have one. It's the chariot. And they're like, ah ha ha, we'll just hook the winch up inside the Jupiter and roll and throw this car at you.
and mom, whose name I'm never gonna remember.
Maureen. I just refuse to. I'm not gonna name her.
Yep, she doesn't need name. The mom Maureen. She's like, oh yeah, that should work. That'll be great. Like, hook it up and drop it down. This is gonna be great. We can just climb in and things will be hunky dory.
Oh, and then she's like, of course. We can also use the cable because it's metal and conductive and hook that up to the engine, and then it'll work exactly like we want it to work anyway, because sure, fucking whatever.
Yeah, that's with the big lightning conductor like a couple of meters behind her, it will clearly go to this tiny piece of rope. Either way. It just,
we missed the part where, so Penny was having the heart-to-heart with the mom in the trench, and then it cuts immediately to Will having a heart-to-heart with the dad, because we had to have those. And one part of the scene was Will looked off into the distance. The dad's like, you wish the robot was here, don't you? And I'm like, what good would that fucking robot do right now? That robot can't fly or jump or climb. So how the fuck would that robot help anyone in the case of Mom and Penny in the trench?
I don't know. Maybe the robot could conveniently be able to lower the chariot down.
I guess. But I was just like, that robot's going to do nothing for anyone right now. It doesn't matter if
metal
it's
and conductive.
Right?
Probably a bad idea.
Whatever. But the problem with the chariot, the whole crux of why we can't get the chariot down, is the chariot is in the garage, and the garage is underwater. And so they have to do this thing, which is where Judy has come to help them, because they're going to cut through the kelp that's holding the garage door shut.
Yeah.
And here's the scene where Judy gets teen angsty, because they're cutting through the kelp and the door's like getting ready to pop open, and the dad's like, okay, you both get the fuck out of here, and I'll finish this up. And Judy's like, no, I can help. And he's like, we cannot risk you because you're the only doctor.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, you trust me to save your life but not to cut through kelp? And he's like, go away.
That's like literally not the point here. The point is, you die, we all die. I die, it's just me dead. Like,
it's just me.
Go, child. And yeah, so he eventually manages to cut through this kelp with the plasma cutter. And then the water starts to fill up, and the two kids are waiting at the hatch, and they hear like pings and pops, and Judy's like, oh no, Daddy, goes down the ladder, and her dad is bolting it across the carriage.
He's like, no, go
coming,
back
like,
up.
Baby, get back up the ladder. And I was like, this is exactly why he didn't want you in the first place. This is a guy who knows where pressure's about to come in. He's been a Navy SEAL. Get the fuck out of his way. Like, if he dies because you came down the ladder after he said, get the fuck out of my way, I would be so mad.
I was sort of like, is he gonna die here? Because honestly,
yeah, but they've already
that'd be such a fucking thing.
But they've already done the potential dead dad bit and the dead Don bit, so they can't do that again. I mean, they can. I know. It is Lost in Space, but it
is, and they will reuse something. So the chariot goes down. It dangles down on the end of this rope, or its winch cable, but it doesn't have enough winch cable, because why would it? Because again, everything goes wrong.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, in this one, it kind of doesn't, because like it comes down and it stops like in midair, like, you know, a good portion of the way down, but not enough that the girls could just jump and get to it. And the dad's like, "You said it would be fine." She's like, "I don't know. Maybe something got hooked. Maybe something wasn't right, or maybe this will be a future plot hook. Maybe they'll do something with this missing 30 meters of cable, but who fucking knows?"
But what I mean is, when everything goes wrong, they're planning, the winch cable will reach the bottom. Okay. No, it won't.
No, of course.
Anytime anything should happen, no, it won't.
Yeah.
which undercuts the drama, because if nothing ever goes the way that
there's no stakes,
you're like, this will work, and then it doesn't work.
Yep.
It's going to happen every time. And like, okay, then I'm just going to wait for you to get the second thing, which is going to solve the problem.
Yeah, it's the house paradox. The first one is never the right one.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, it's never lupus. I got it.
It's never lupus, except when it's lupus.
Yeah.
So it goes down and it stops like 30 feet above. And as soon as it stops, I'm like, that rigging idea that Penny had of exactly 30 feet, that will be the one.
Oh my god.
And literally he says 30 feet and someone else says 30 feet, and then the mom turns to Penny and says, Penny solved it! Like,
Penny's so smart!
Penny, you did it! You saved us again! And I was just like, no, you just remembered something she said. Penny didn't remember when someone said 30 feet and she said, hey, there's thing. Oh, it was 30 feet tall. It's not going to be enough for the 150-foot drop. I'm like, if Penny had said this, it would have been... If the mom was laying there unconscious, like her filter's failing because she hit the deck and actually took damage, maybe saving her daughter, I don't freaking know. This moment would have been so much better for Penny, because Penny would have fucking solved it, but she didn't. She said something offhanded at the beginning of the episode and her mum went, you saved us, honey. Like, no, you remembered in that moment. Penny did not register at all that she could have done that.
Penny just continued to stare at nothing and freak out.
Jesus.
So... they build scaffolding out of the rigging and make a ladder up to the chariot, which Penny fails to climb at one point, which I was like, what the fuck?
Her arm goes dramatically wide. She
Oh,
makes a
God.
really big, like, dramatic gesture.
Oh, yeah. I was like, you're climbing. That's not how... I've missed a rung on a ladder before. You don't fling out that way. You just go, oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. Like,
and if you have your feet and other arm on it, you're just like, oh, okay, well, that was a... And which they're not climbing rapidly. They're literally climbing like arm, leg. They're going very slow, which means... which means, what is she... like, ah!
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Anyway, so the ladies in the trench managed to make it into the chariots, and they get
in the chariot at the last second.
At the very last second. Yeah.
Before we get to what happens there, because I have thoughts.
Oh boy.
Back in the med bay, Smith and Dawn are laying there, and Dawn is like slowly getting better because of the blood transfusion. Yeah. And Smith is reading Penny's reading the book. Yeah, yes. She's reading Penny's book. And she's like, and someone named Don West is a smuggler. And I'm like, oh, you gonna blackmail him with something that literally everyone here already knows?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she tries to do.
Yeah. And she's like, the first time I met you, were trying to steal a Jupiter. I'm like, yeah. But he's alive.
Which the other thing is, she's like, the people in the Resolute wouldn't understand that. I'm like, there was a murder bot on board. I guarantee they'd be like, you're not military.
Yeah. The only person trying to fucking escape.
I guarantee they wouldn't be like, well, your job is to repair the Resolute, but we thought it was like an asteroid, and then, it was a murder bot, so it makes sense that you ran away. Yeah. No one's going to fault you for that.
no one's going to have an issue with this. And so, yeah, she like, he says, like, the difference between you and me, we're both criminals, is that I'm going to go to work and you're going to go to jail. And she's like, but I'll take you with me. And he's like, fuck you.
And she's like, I expect loyalty. And I'm like, I hate this character. This character just... No, there's nothing... Like, she's just like...
smart, and now she's just a repeating trash pile. Yeah, so she's reading the book and she reveals to Don, or Don figures out, obviously, because it's obviously what she's doing is like, you're trying to get one away from the herd, and she's like, I only need the one, so yeah.
And he's like, that's not going to work, idiot.
Yeah, but of course it won't work. Like, it will come down to the, like, surrogate mum bullshit thing that's going on between Smith and Penny. And, and then at the very last moment,
yeah, she'll manipulate Penny, and it'll be like, oh no, Penny, what are you doing? And then Penny will be like, I like my real family better than you. Mm-hmm. Because, and I guarantee season 3, she'll do it with Judy somehow. I don't know. It'll be fucking stupid. Anyway, so let's cut back to the chariot thing, because they get in and the doors are closing very slowly, and the lightning is coming. Yes. And they can see it in the distance. And the mom's like, I never read the book. I'm so sorry. I'll read it later. And then the lightning hits, and nobody can hear the mom or Penny because all the electrical interference.
Of course.
And my comment here is I love that the chariot and the winch cable can, first of all, take a lightning strike.
Oh, boy.
That would just, like, definitely superheat this tiny cable.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chariot, or the Jupiter, takes off and drags the chariot by this winch cable that would have to be superheated.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't just pop like string. Like, this is some amazing material they've made this thing out of.
This is space material.
Oh my god, it's
this is clearly some sort of futuristic space material that can not only take a direct hit from lightning, can also conduct it and funnel it sufficiently
safely.
Well.
Yeah,
safely into whatever goddamn ridiculous energy battery they have.
Without literally just melting.
So dumb. So dumb.
So while they're flying, they winch the chariot back into the garage, which I don't even know how you'd fucking manage that shit. Like, but
maybe
whatever.
Maybe they just let the winch cable get cold and then just like reel it back in. Like, no, that'd be fine for another 3 minutes.
The chariot would be like,
yep.
Those two would not survive flying in that thing.
I just thought it's hilarious, like how evenly it drops, despite the fact there was an ocean buffeting against like the boat, the fact there was water pouring in. Like, it was a beautiful descent, and yeah, they clearly pull it in just as easily. And the dad goes batshit crazy with a crowbar, trying to break into the chariot because obviously all the metal has fused. The windows are like dramatically misted over.
They don't know if Mom and Penny are alive.
Yeah, because they didn't know if the door closed quick enough. And
it's very touching.
Yeah.
But the door finally opens and there they are, untouched. But also, I want to say, have you ever like seen people ride on like an inner tube behind a boat?
Yes.
And they hit like a little wave and it like throws them off. Imagine that, but you're not on water, you're in air. And then there's a heavy roof over the inner tube. Because that's what would be happening to Penny and the mom.
Jeez, yeah. Jeez.
They wouldn't be hugging all posed together in this nice moment. They'd be either A, dead, or B, vomiting.
They'd be like
from
sprawled around.
Just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. However, they were just unconscious. Sure,
whatever.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Shock, sure, whatever. Out of auction, I don't know. Plot, sure. So they come awake as the door is being opened and like the helmets come off and there's hugging and there's much love and rejoice and the Robertson family live another day.
Yep.
Huzzah! Yeah, great. And then as they're leaving this wonderful Kodak touching moments as they make their way back to the rest of the ship, Will hears the weird ticking, tapping thing again, I think.
Yeah, he does. And he starts...
he goes to the remains of the engine, right?
Yeah, because he's hearing that noise and it's coming from that direction, so he's like crawling towards it.
Mm-hmm. So he makes his way over there, and then he looks back at his family like, can you hear the tipping? There's like this big metal claw that appears behind his head, and I was like, grab him. Just grab him. It'll be the funniest ending to this episode ever. I would never have seen this coming. Do it. But they didn't.
No, the evil robot arm just collapses on the ground like a dead fish.
Of course, yeah.
And
the
they're like, oh my
store
god.
it in a box.
Yeah, because that'll obviously help.
Yeah.
You know, put it in a box.
Yeah, it's not part of the alien engine, but it is obviously a part of, I think, the second alien.
The second alien robot that they call the SAR.
Yeah, which the dad didn't know about. I'm like, I get it. Like, I didn't understand the SAR reference at all.
Yeah, he's like, what? And they're like, the second alien robot. And he's like, okay, well, in my defense, we've been attacked by a lot of stuff.
That was good.
Which is true.
That's fair. Yeah, so they stick the arm in the box, and then the mum stares some time looking at a panel.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I don't know what she's looking at because I couldn't see it very well.
Yeah, she stays behind when they all leave. She's like, I'm gonna do something, and she looks at some piece of equipment and stares at it, but it means literally nothing to anybody because I don't know what this machine is or does or was.
Okay, good. That wasn't just me because I saw it. I'm like, I don't recognize it. I don't see what it is. Maybe it was part of the stuff she was experimenting with.
Maybe
in episode 1.
There was a spike on a graph. That's the only thing I saw. What does that mean? Who fucking knows?
open to interpretation. If you have a better guess than we do, which is it's space stuff,
I'm sure we'll find out next episode. I'm sure. The only thing I can think of right now is it was something recording. It was the thing recording the robot engine.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the first episode. Yeah. And the only thing I can think of right now is there's a spike on it, meaning that the engine powered up for a moment.
Yes, it could well be.
So that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, they have to wait another 27 days and then they can test that theory, right?
Yeah, then they can fly down and get struck by lightning again, because apparently the ship can just do that.
Yeah, it can just do the thing. So they go upstairs and they put their helmets on because they're now in space, so they're going to constantly be in their little spacesuit thing. Don's like, yeah, tell me next time we're about to launch, because holy crap, I could not hold on. My arms are like noodles.
Yeah, it's like I'm laying in a hospital bed, not strapped down at all, and you're flying around.
You idiots.
And then apparently Penny is the easiest person in the world to manipulate, because Dr. Smith is just like, I read your book and it was nice, and she's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm like, that's all it takes.
But at least Smith could answer that question, unlike her mom.
You know,
her mom is a terrible mother.
Her mom's just got so much on her plate.
Yeah, but still, like...
But actually, though, her mom didn't have a lot on her plate at the time, because when she got that book, they were just living on that planet.
Yep.
Doing nothing. So you didn't have anything but time.
See, I tried to help my mum by saying maybe that the mum and the dad read it together as a nice little, oh, isn't our daughter amazing thing?
Of course the mom's not going to read it.
I tried for her, but she's just a terrible mother.
Because the mom is the, I mean, typically it's like, that's like the dad role in most like shows, but that's the mom. The mom's just got so much to do, so many things to like focus on, or so like, a lot of things just take a backseat priority because there's other things to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the dad in this show is like, yeah, I spent a lot of time away from you guys and I don't want to lose you, so like I'm actively trying to be involved in your lives.
Yes. I do like the fact they've kind of like amended their relationship and made things work, but geez, couldn't take like 2 hours out to read your daughter's diary.
It can't be that long. I mean, right? Like,
I don't know. It depends if it chronicles all of Lost in Spaces, whether it's like the script of Lost in Space season 1, or whether it's like, I don't know, how it emotionally feels.
Well, it can't be that long, because I mean, the book's like what, maybe that thick, and it looks handwritten-ish. Like, it doesn't look like Will printed it. So like the letters look about like that. I mean, it's maybe like 100 pages of like fairly large font.
Yeah, maybe.
You could read that in a couple of hours.
Yeah, that's just nothing, Like, if it's that bad, read it on the toilet like everyone else. What's wrong with you?
Seriously. So then we cut to Will, who's about to talk to his robot sculpture that he's been doing for this season. When Penny comes in and is like, hey, I brought you something. And she throws one of their little wrist things at him. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I have mine. What is this? And she's like, no, it's Mom's. She took pictures of those glyphs. I thought you might want to see them.
Yeah, I did like that. That was nice. It was a nice thoughtful moment. Penny isn't completely useless.
No, she is, her skill is misbehaving. Her skill is being a petty thief.
Her skill is hot. Like,
you know what though? It's gonna come in handy when they get kidnapped at some point and put in jail, because I'm waiting for this to happen.
Of course.
And they're like, everyone looks at Penny like, how are we getting out of here? And she's like, I've been planning this heist for months.
I am the petty thief you warned me I should not become. Aren't you wrong now, mother and father?
And they're like, oh my god, you're a petty larceny skill.
Yeah. So she does that, and Will calls her back. I'm like, and he says like, I'm gonna get the robot back. If the robot can't find us, we'll go find it. And she's like, good, great.
It's wonderful and great, because there's nothing wrong with what's happening here.
Yep, nothing wrong at all.
And then it shows, I actually really like this scene, because they're in orbit over the planet, and there's just this line of glowing energy.
Yeah. Where
like the trench is. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because it's obviously got to be doing something, but what the fuck that is, I don't know.
Yeah, like the visual of the planet they have out of the window, set in that, like, we bang on about how bad the show is, but the set design is good.
It really is.
It's really Literally,
it's the writing.
Like,
That's it.
Director of photography, set designers, like, yeah, the actors are giving it their all, and props, because I think some of them are getting better. But it may be because this episode's script was ever so slightly better than last week's. Like, they're giving it all, and it looks good, but the scripting is fucking diabolical. Anyway, so it looks a really good scene looking at this planet with the glowing thing around it, and everyone's in the cockpit and everyone's looking at like all the readings, and they're like, oh, there's an alarm going off. I'm like, that alarm, that must be the plot point for next episode.
Oh yes, because
they actually had an alarm for next week's plot point.
They really did. And the mom's like, no, it's not an alarm, it's an audio marker, because all ships have like a audio watermark. Because let me explain this in very simple terms. They have an audio watermark, so if you pick up their radio frequency, you can identify what ship it is. And I'm like, you could have just said it's a hailing frequency. Like, yeah, like people have seen enough sci-fi.
And also, like, yeah, cool, you can identify the ship that is hailing you. But isn't it more important, like, using that buoy to know where they are? So you don't, I don't know, say run into them. Like, that's my natural conclusion.
I know
as to
which
what you would
ship
have
it
that
is.
for. Like, it doesn't matter what you're going to hit. It matters how big it is and where it is.
I know what ship it is, and that's all that matters. Oh, no, yeah. I ran into you.
Yep, no, that's terrible.
But it turns out it's the Resolute.
Yeah.
And they're far away, but they can get to them somehow.
Yeah, they'll get there. Cool beans. This is great news. Woohoo! And they're
all like, yeah. And they get ready, and then we get the last scene of this episode, which is that Smith runs into the med bay, picks up one of the pieces of kelp, and hides it in the Lost in Space book she's holding.
Yes. Because
obviously she's going to put that on somebody.
See, I thought she had already done that. Because a bit we kind of glossed over because, my God, this episode is she was told to clean up the kelp after Penny had cut it off of Dawn. And I thought, oh, that's the point, she's going to take some kelp. No, they didn't even like subtly hide it in that. They literally did not need the bit where she picks up the kelp and puts it in her book for me to go, oh, she's stealing the kelp. I thought she had already done it.
I was expecting her to like throw it on Judy at the moment and be like, haha, I've stolen the ship. I don't know, but like, no, that's not what she did.
No, they slapped us in the face with this one.
But you know, it was the last scene, and I'm sure she's going to use that at some inappropriate moment.
Yep. Because we have the plot point set up for next episode, which is the Resolute and getting there. And it'll either be like a derelict wreck or something along those lines.
Oh my God, because they time traveled somehow.
Yeah, there's that too. It could be an older version, a newer version. Like,
please don't time travel. I don't. That's what this show does not need, is time travel. This show it's barely on the watchable scale that if it pushed into time travel territory, no. You don't have a skilled enough writers group to do that. And also, you cannot handle decent time travel in one episode, and that's all they'd give it. That's literally all they would give it.
Yep. The thing is, like, they have, like, there were episodes in series 1, and there was this episode which was written so much better than many of the other episodes at all. Like, they have clearly some talented people here, but they're just stuck under this ridiculous narrative of you have to do it the same way we did back in today, which is everything is wrapped up in one episode, and then the next bit leads on, like the very end just leads on to the next episode. Like, get out of that. You have some people who know what they're doing. And we saw sci-fi in this episode. We saw some sci-fi. We heard it. It wasn't great sci-fi, but we did hear some. And I will take it. I will take that. That's great. Yes, we have some sci-fi in this fi. Great. I love it. Like, we have some of that. And the actors are giving it their all. Even Smith, who's a terribly written character. The actress is giving it everything. Like, they have a good group here. Just
my biggest problem is because every episode wraps up, it causes a problem and then wraps it up. Like a big problem, not like a little problem. Like, every episode is a life or death problem. It really undercuts that drama of like, oh no, bad stuff has happened. This show really would kind of benefit from like one big season-long problem and then like a bunch of little problems with like interpersonal drama cut in there.
Yep.
And you'd still need rising and falling action. You still need to get to a point where they're like we're safe, everything's fine, it's no big deal, you know, as safe as can be because you are in space, I'll give you that. But you know, like everything's fine, and then something else goes wrong. But if it's like everything's constantly going wrong and you're just like barely above, like in front of the ball, like it doesn't make me interested because like, okay, good job, you just you know, you didn't die this time and you won't die next time because I know it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So that was basically the episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Writers, there are some people there who know what they're doing and they have everything except a good script, and it's frustrating as fuck.
Yeah.
That whole Penny thing, if this episode is supposed to be, I don't know, I'm hoping for Penny this episode is a setup for how easy it is going to be for Dr. Smith to manipulate her, because she didn't solve anything, and that was a huge letdown for me, because it's like, no, like I think we solved it right back in like the 3rd or 4th minute we started this rant, which was knock out the mom and make Penny do the shit. Like that would have been Penny saving something. That would have been literally her doing something. It'd been very contrived, but it would have been better than what we had. And that really made me angry and upset.
Yeah, no, Penny should have gotten something.
She got nothing, and I hated it.
She really did. She really did. Oh, there was a line from Judy in this episode. After the mom and Penny are back on the ship and there's the celebration, Judy
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Goes to the dad and she's like, Dad, I'm 19. I can do more stuff. And he's like, sometimes being grown up means knowing when not to do stuff. So next time I tell you to leave a room, leave the fucking room.
And she's like, what, you mean like putting up a mask? To be fair, if she had helped him, maybe they would have bolted it down properly.
You know what? That is fair. I'm not arguing that.
I was like, nice, sick burn. There was one other line in here, which was Penny's, and I thought it was hilarious. It's the bit where they're talking about, the mum is talking about the rope and she's talking about the Faraday cage. And like, oh, if you drop it down, we can use the rope as jumper leaves and we can hide in the Faraday cage. Like, we can kill 2 birds with one stone. And Penny's line was, I hope those birds that are getting killed, they're not us, right?
Yeah, no, that was a good one.
That's a solid. I love that. That was a good line. I like it.
But now the important part of this review show is, hey, Valanda, how would you rate this episode?
Well, I think maybe 3 pushing on 4 pieces of a robot. Like, because the sci-fi was in there. There was a little bit of intellect going on. Like, the scythe was there, so it will have the head part of the robot. The arm part was that things were always happening, and there were a couple of good stunt scenes in there, and the visuals were really good. It had legs. It kept the pace going. It was a shame that it's the same pace it's been going all the time. It's more like a marathon runner.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And there was a little bit of heart in here. There was a little bit. Like, the interactions between the son and the dad are always spot on. I don't know who's writing those, but they're always spot on.
They're very good, yeah.
And then, like, there's the heart moment, like, the talking between the 2 criminals, which is really good. I desperately hated the interaction between the mum and Penny, but moments were there. And, you know, Judy was doing her stuff, dropping her moments and learning and growing as an adult. Like, there were moments in there. So, like, I had like half a torso piece, maybe. So I think maybe like 3.5 robot pieces out of 6. I think that's where I'm laying on this one.
All right. You know,
what about you?
Out of 6, how are you getting 6?
Well, because
2 arms, 2 legs,
2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a torso.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I can't add. That's my problem here.
Well, you can give a robot a jetpack.
I guess that's true. You could give a robot a jetpack, but this robot doesn't have a jetpack or really anything cool.
No. It's just a mannequin that someone's painted silver.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna, you know what? I'd agree with you with 3, but I'm knocking it down, and I'm knocking it down because 90% of this episode was lens flares.
Yeah.
Like, if they had one more lens flare in this episode, I wouldn't have been able to see what was happening. They were everywhere constantly. And it was fucking annoying.
I only noticed the lens flare once. but my partner was watching it with me. He noticed it a couple of times.
It's in several places. Now, the worst scene is the last scene after the mom and Penny get back onto the ship after they fly away. Because that little garage scene, it's just all angles. And it's like, what are you doing? Anytime there's a light source even remotely near the camera, it's like lens flare. And she's like, please don't.
I think that's probably probably flare, but I only really noticed it the once, which was when Dr. Smith and Don are talking, when Don's like actually beginning to come around and be a little bit more conscious and a little bit more witty.
No.
Like
pretty much, it was in pretty much every.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was in almost every single scene where they were inside the Jupiter.
Yeah.
Had a lens flare, and I say almost because a couple of times it like the cockpit scene where Will and Smith are in the cockpit, there's no lens flare in there. Anytime they're outside, it's not there. It's just when they're in like the interiors of the Jupiter itself.
Yeah, and I had praised them so well on making the inside of the Jupiter feel warm and comforting, which is like the yellows.
Yeah, you didn't get that this time.
No, this time not at all. Like,
you
you
could
tell the difference between inside and outside, but the inside you couldn't see.
Which sucks because, as you said, there's some really good set design going on here. Like,
it's top notch, really is.
I'm gonna say 2 out of 6 for the thing, and I want to say like this show is right on the edge of like. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would really enjoy this show. It's right on the edge of being, perfectly fine TV. The problem with it is, all I want is a little more story.
Yeah.
I want the story to be something that makes sense.
Yeah. I think
and it's not.
This is very much an action series where they try and put some drama and some sci-fi in it just to disguise where basically the set dressing for the action in the piece. It's like, okay, all right, this is good kids TV where they need everything hammered in until they, you're able to deal with complicated subtles and nuances and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is cool, but oh boy.
Yeah, I would say this is more like, this has more of like a young adult TV feel.
Yeah.
Because
we're just old, Drew.
Maybe, it might be.
Maybe we're 100% not the audience.
Ooh.
Are we the wrong demographic, Drew?
That's impossible. I am all the demographics.
Oh
no,
boy.
I don't know. Maybe we just aren't, because it's like I said, it's right on the edge of being. I mean, it's definitely perfectly fine TV. If you weren't paying attention or you weren't expecting a lot from it, it'd probably be fine.
Yeah.
You might get you might just be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Every time something, you're gonna almost die and then not die, but like, maybe you're fine with that. And if that's what you're fine with, then fine, whatever. But
if you're watching it like one episode at a time every week, like, yeah, I guess it's not too bad, but
yeah, I just want a story. I want a story-driven thing that has ups and downs and characters could die. And yeah, you know what? Since there's only 6 characters, you can't just kill them off willy-nilly. I get that. And also they're a family, but stop being like, they're going to die.
Yeah, don't threaten that with us if you're not going to use it. Like, this is why I'm genuinely concerned about Don. This is why I don't see season 3 in his future. Like, if they are going to kill someone, they aren't going to kill their major protagonist, because they can do the evil things with her too well. They can't kill any of the kids because there will be uproar. You can't kill children.
Because they're cowards.
Bad. Yes. They've already threatened death over the father. Like, they already had that hanging there, so they can't really do that again. And they can't kill the mum. For the same reason as, like, she's part of the family and she's, like, the smart one, and, So it's going to be Don. If they're going to kill anyone, it's going to be Don, and I don't want them to kill him. Or if they touch that goddamn chicken, I will riot.
Honestly, yeah, the chicken, if you kill anyone, the chicken should not be the one you kill.
No. No chickens or Dons should be harmed in the making of this.
But that was episode 2. And it was perfectly fine, but it was a mess.
It was a mess. There were better things that they could have done. They could have made Penny's episode better. They could have done everything just that little bit better. Like, you can't fault, like, everything except the script. You can't, like, fault that. Like, they did great on the acting this time round. It has vastly improved since Series 1. Things feel a little bit realer. They probably settled in. I don't really know, but it feels much better, at least. Like, all the
there's
set,
definitely more...
Apart from the lens flare.
There's more budget. There definitely is more budget here.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of the problem is it feels like Lost in Space is being handled very typical TV show-esque, in which that there's a bunch of writers who write an episode and there's like a different director every episode, but there's no really strong overall theme throughout all the episodes. So it's just like, here's an episode and this is the director of that episode, and here's an episode, here's the director of that episode.
Yeah, like the overall showrunner or the producer is like maybe not quite as tight on it, or is quite as like happy to say, no, don't do that, do this is better for the overall vision. Maybe these are just 2 random setup episodes for the rest of the series. I don't know. I hope so, because I would like there to be hope, because this could be good. It just isn't yet.
Be good. Yes. It could be.
All right, I guess that's it for us then.
I think that's all.
Yeah. Do you wanna do your things?
You mean the offline bits?
Yeah. The Find Me Here thing.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Drew Tillman, and you can find me on Taking Initiative. I actually think the next episode is episode 21.
Nice.
And of season 2, but I don't exactly remember when it comes out. You can also find me playing Edgelord on Halcyon by Night on the Corpses and Curios podcast, and I'm Zelfar on The Lucky Die, and kind of just all over the place. But if you're watching, go vote for Edgelord in March Maskness on Twitter.
What's this, Drew?
I don't know. Like, someone, again, I don't know who, because I'm only like sort of connected to it, approached Chris from Corpses and Curios if they want to be part of March Maskness, which is a March Madness bracket for Masks podcasts, where you like the characters are pitted against each other and voted on until there's like 2. So the Halcyon by Night crew is on there somehow.
That's amazing.
So I need everyone to go vote for my best boy Edgelord, who is just a lovable beacon who's doing his best and is so excitable. I want to see him win. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm sure the other podcasts are honestly just like have way more fans and stuff. I don't know, but more compelling characters than I'm a boy and I have a magic sword now.
Edgelord, that's such a great name. You can find me on Twitter at volley_lunder. You can find me on the Lucky Die podcast, which I GM. We release episode 107 tomorrow. Blimey, a long, complicated story. It's only getting bigger. Oh no. Episode 106. Also, the winner of our giveaway will get announced tomorrow that we're running on there, and it looks rad as all hell. Other than that, you can find me on the White Vault, which has its finale coming out on Tuesday for the general populace, and it's really good. I actually do some real talking.
The full finale?
No, the episode 3 finale is 2 more. There's a couple of seasons left.
Okay. I'm just curious.
No, just nope. I do some talking to real people, which is great. It's a good time. I think other than that, that's everything that I can shout about at the moment. So, I guess we're out. We're done.
I guess so. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next weekend.
Yeah.
Next Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.